The moment the interview clip dropped, the internet went silent, then exploded. Caitríona Balfe, usually graceful and measured in her words, had finally decided to speak openly about something fans had debated for nearly a decade: what it was really like filming intimate scenes with Sam Heughan. "People think those scenes were easy. They weren't," she said, her tone gentle but unmistakably honest. And just like that, millions of fans leaned in. She began by taking everyone back to the earliest days of Outlander, when she and Sam barely knew each other. They had met only hours before diving into chemistry reads that would define the fate of the entire series. "We were strangers," she admitted, "and suddenly we had to create the most believable love story on television. The pressure was immense. The expectations? Even heavier. The first intimate scenes were filmed before Sam and Caitríona had built any real rapport." She described the atmosphere as a mix of professionalism and palpable awkwardness. The crew tried to make the set comfortable, but nothing could erase the reality. Two actors who had just met were expected to portray soul-level intimacy. "We were laughing one minute and blushing the next," she recalled. "It was raw and clumsy in a very human way." But as filming progressed, something shifted, not in a romantic sense, but in trust. Caitríona explained that Sam had an unusual ability to make her feel grounded, even in vulnerable moments. "When cameras rolled, they fell into a rhythm that felt strangely natural. Sam always made sure I felt safe," she said. "He paid attention, he listened, he checked in. That made all the difference." Fans had always assumed that chemistry happened magically, but Caitríona stressed how much emotional work it required. The intimate scenes weren't about bodies. They were about vulnerability, breath, and the ability to surrender to a moment without fear. "Chemistry isn't just the spark people talk about," she said. "It's the willingness to trust someone completely for a moment in time." Then came the scenes that shaped an era. Scenes in Season 1 that became iconic, where the line between performance and emotion blurred in ways the fandom still discusses passionately. Caitríona revealed that some of those days were unexpectedly emotional. "Not sexual, not romantic, but deeply human. We connected through the characters," she explained. "Claire and Jamie's intimacy wasn't lust. It was love, and portraying that required tapping into something real." She spoke about the weight of fan expectations. Before the show even aired, readers of Diana Gabaldon's novels already imagined what Jamie and Claire's love should look like. Delivering those scenes meant carrying decades of fan fantasies on their shoulders. "People had dreamed of these characters for years," she said. "We felt that responsibility every time the camera turned on." One of the most shocking moments came when Caitríona admitted that some scenes were harder emotionally than physically. There were days when she and Sam would step aside, holding quiet conversations to prepare themselves. "We weren't just two bodies in a frame," she said. "We were two people trying to honor the emotional truth behind the intimacy." Those pauses, she said, were what allowed the scenes to feel authentic instead of choreographed. But the internet erupted when Caitríona described a specific moment during filming that she had never spoken about publicly. It happened during a particularly intense scene, one the fandom often cites as proof of their legendary chemistry. "There was a moment," she confessed, "when everything around us disappeared. The room fell silent during the interview. Even the host stopped breathing." Caitríona explained that the connection wasn't romantic, it was immersive. In that instant, they weren't Sam and Caitríona, nor were they performing. They were simply two humans experiencing a moment of vulnerability so honest it startled the crew. When the director yelled cut, no one moved. "It didn't feel like acting," she whispered. "Not for a split second." Of course, that one sentence sent fans spiraling. Social media erupted with theories, speculations, and emotional breakdowns. Had they shared something real? Was that the moment everything changed? Caitríona didn't clarify. She only smiled gently, as if holding a truth she wasn't ready to give away. "Some things," she said, "belong to the moment, not the world." By the end of the interview, it was clear that the story of Sam and Caitríona's intimate scenes wasn't about romance or scandal. It was about trust, respect, collaboration, and the courage to be emotionally bare in front of another person. "Those scenes shaped our partnership," she concluded. They taught us how to lean on each other. But before the cameras cut, she left the world with one last cliffhanger. There's more to say about those moments, and not all of it is easy. And just like that, the world demanded the rest of the truth. When the interview resumed the following week, the anticipation was overwhelming. Fans across the globe waited, breath held, as Caitríona Balfe sat down again, this time with a quieter expression, as though she was ready to reveal something she had been guarding for years. The host didn't waste time. You said, she reminded gently, that not everything about those moments was easy. What did you mean? Caitríona exhaled slowly. She confessed that the intimacy on screen wasn't just a physical choreography. It required a level of emotional openness that could be unexpectedly overwhelming. People don't realize how much vulnerability those scenes demand, she said. You can't hide behind technique. You have to feel something, even if that feeling exists only for the character. Sometimes, that emotional weight lingered long after filming stopped. One of the most striking revelations came when Caitríona admitted that a few scenes became so intense that she and Sam needed to take breaks. Not because they were uncomfortable with each other, but because the emotions of Jamie and Claire were too heavy. During one scene in season 2, she recalled feeling unexpectedly overwhelmed, tears falling before she could stop them. Sam simply stepped forward, wrapped a robe around her shoulders, and held her quietly until she felt grounded again. He knew what I needed before I knew it myself, she said softly. The host asked whether their off-screen trust ever blurred into something more personal. Caitríona smiled, not teasingly, but with the maturity of someone who understood the world's curiosity. Our chemistry was real, she admitted, but not in the way people imagine. It wasn't romantic. It was built on deep respect, shared vulnerability, and a level of communication that few partnerships ever reach. We trusted each other completely. That's rare. That trust, she said, is what allowed them to push the boundaries of intimate storytelling. They developed a silent language on set, small gestures, subtle looks, tiny signals that helped them navigate difficult scenes. If one of them needed space, the other knew instantly. If something felt off, they adjusted without speaking. We were always protecting each other, Caitríona said. That was our anchor. But the interview took a sharper turn when Caitríona addressed the rumors that their intimacy on screen reflected something happening off camera. She admitted that the rumors affected them both more than people realized. We were playing one of the most iconic love stories in television, she said, and sometimes, people forgot that we were actors. The fan pressure, the speculation, the obsession, it all blurred lines they worked hard to keep intact. There were moments, she revealed, when she and Sam had to sit down privately and reset their boundaries, not because anything inappropriate happened, but because fame had begun to distort the meaning of their partnership. We didn't want to lose ourselves in the characters, she explained. Or lose each other to the noise. That honesty revealed the fragile balance they maintained for nearly a decade. Still, Caitríona didn't shy away from acknowledging how emotionally powerful some scenes were. She recalled one moment late in season 3, where the intimacy wasn't about passion but about reunion, loss, and longing. When filming ended, she and Sam both stood in silence, neither able to shake off the emotions immediately. We weren't Claire and Jamie, she said. But we weren't quite ourselves either. It was a rare and haunting middle space. The most unexpected reveal came when Caitríona admitted that Sam once confessed he, too, had moments where the feelings inside a scene felt startlingly real. Not romantic feelings, but emotional resonance, something deep and raw. He told me afterward, she said, that sometimes the connection felt too honest to ignore. It wasn't attraction. It was the kind of emotional nakedness that only exists when two actors fully surrender to a moment. She emphasized repeatedly that what they shared wasn't a hidden romance, but something equally powerful, an artistic intimacy that required absolute trust. People think intimacy is only physical, she said, but the emotional kind, that's the one that stays with you. And that, she admitted, was why certain scenes haunted them long after filming wrapped. In the final moments of the interview, Caitríona grew reflective. She spoke about how rare it was to find a partner who understood not just your craft, but your vulnerabilities, fears, and instincts. Sam, she said, became that person for her. Not a lover, not a fantasy, but a creative soulmate, someone who met her in the hardest scenes with unwavering support. She ended with a line that silenced the entire world. The intimacy you saw on screen will fade, but the trust we built behind it will never disappear. And with that, the mystery of their legendary connection was finally revealed, not as scandal or secret passion, but as one of the most profound artistic partnerships television has ever seen.